the lead analyst for NFL on Fox. Pleased to have back here on the Rich Eisen Show none other than Pro Football Hall of Famer Troy Aikman. How are you, Troy?
Hey, Rich. I'm doing good. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure to have you back on this program. What do you think happens tonight? Let's start with the game tonight, Troy, the Patriots and Steelers. What do you think happens?
Well, I don't know if you followed this, Bill. There's been a lot of drama around the Patriots over the last 6 months. I would expect them to come out and play exceptionally well. I say that, Rich, but I think that every time I watch New England, right? They're well prepared, they're well coached, got great players. But I think it's always special opening up a new season. It's especially memorable when you've won the World Championship the year before, and now you're playing in front of your home crowd the first time since then. You know, in a meaningful game. There was uncertainty about what Tom's status was going to be. I just expect all of that. I think there's going to be great electricity in the stadium, and I believe that the Patriots are going to feed off of that. And I believe Tom Brady is going to have an outstanding night.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's played in big games just like you played in all those big games before, Troy. This, however, seems to have a different feel to it because of all that drama. What's the process of a future Hall of Fame quarterback trying to channel all that energy? Because when it all comes down to it, Tom Brady's still a human being, Troy, for tonight.
Sure. Yeah, I think it'll be unique. I'm certainly not. I have no point of reference to draw upon as to what he may be feeling. I can't even equate it to any other quarterback. You know, someone who has, had the career that he has been as dominant in his profession. And then to have gone through what he's gone through, how much is he internalizing that? I have great respect for Tom. I think a lot of him. I've been very vocal in my opinions as to whatever took place or whatever he did or didn't know. But I don't, in my opinion anyway, it doesn't take away from his legacy as a quarterback. But I believe that as a quarterback in this league, you're constantly having to deal with some things. There's always some controversies, there's always some distractions, and you've got to be able to compartmentalize that if you're going to have success in this league. And with his success that he has had, he's obviously been able to do that, and I expect that he did it in the Super Bowl. And if it was going to affect him, I think it would have affected him most in that game, just 2 weeks after that AFC Championship game when the accusations occurred. And so I expect him come out and do the things that we're accustomed to seeing him doing.
Troy Aikman, lead analyst for Fox, Pro Football Hall of Famer. He's also in a brand new Miller Lite commercial that we'll be talking about in a matter of moments. And you did make reference to your outspokenness about Brady and the footballs and the PSI, and if he was guilty of doing that it should have been raised to the standards of punishment like what happened to the Saints in the Bountygate stuff, Troy. So are you in any way conflicted seeing Tom Brady suited up and playing starting tonight, Troy?
No, I'm not. I'm not conflicted at all. I think first of all, I don't know. I have my opinions just like everybody does based on what I've read, but no one really knows whether or not the balls were deflated or not. What I've said is if the balls were deflated, there's no question in my mind that Tom knew that the balls were being deflated because that's the only reason they're being deflated. I mean, I can assure you, all across this league, whatever the conditions are of the footballs going into a game, the reason they're in that condition is because that's how the quarterback likes the footballs. It's that simple. It's very black and white. It's not because that's how the center likes it or the coach or the wide receiver. It's because that's how the quarterback likes them. So it's a real simple thing for me. And the reason I said made the reference 6 months ago with regards to Bountygate is I think when you call into question the integrity of the game and the competitive balance of a game, to me that is far more severe and more serious, regardless of whatever that may be. Someone would say, you're talking just a little bit of air pressure. I say, well, yeah, but if you're bringing into question the balance of the game, the competitive balance of the game, I've been in the league, I've been in locker rooms, even today, in light of Bountygate, you cannot tell me that the defensive players that go out and play, that they're not trying to hit the quarterback as hard as they can, and if that knocks them out of the game, so be it. That's just the way that it is. It's the nature of this game. And there was bounties on me when I played. In fact, when I played, there was a bounty on me in my rookie year in 1989 by the Philadelphia Eagles and Buddy Ryan the network, CBS, promoted it as Bounty Bowl when we went into the game. Buddy Ryan. So that goes back to how long this kind of stuff has been going on. But it doesn't change what I think of Tom as a player. And I'm glad he's playing. I think it's good for football. He's a great player. He's been a great ambassador in a lot of ways for our sport. And I'm looking forward to watching him play tonight.
Me too, Troy. Me too. Let's talk about the game that you'll be calling with Joseph on Sunday, Packers and Bears on Fox. We finally just caught wind of what Mike McCarthy said in a Chamber of Commerce luncheon in Green Bay, throwing out the red meat for the home fans about kicking Chicago's butt and all of that. I love it. I think it's great. I'm never the type of guy that's going to sit here and castigate somebody for wearing their emotions on their sleeve and giving us some red meat to talk about. But it's fun, right, Troy? That's going to be a big game for you.
Yeah, why is that even a story? I don't even understand it. Even if he said it to his team, even if he say, he's the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, and they open up against their heated rival in the Chicago Bears, and they're not supposed to like each other. And so you say it, who cares? You still go out and you play. And I don't know. I think we've gotten to a point where every comment that anyone makes is made into a headline. Usually it's not even the full headline. I've had it happen to me. I've had it happen to me with my own network, where they just take a piece of what you said and with regards to a response, and then they put it up there as a headline and try to get clicks on the internet. I think it's ridiculous. I saw what he said, and the fact that he's having to follow up and answer questions about it, and people have made a big deal about it. It's a sad state of affairs, in my opinion.
How big of a deal is the loss of Jordy Nelson, Troy? Once all said and done,
it's huge. He's a great player, and as a quarterback, when you lose a guy that you have so much confidence in, it's one thing to trust a guy, because you've done it out there on the practice field, but when you have a guy who's made catches and has made plays for you in big games, in playoff games, in Super Bowls, the trust factor just can't be replaced. So it's huge, but I have enormous respect for the way they develop their young players, and of course Aaron Rodgers. Do you just plug anybody in? No, somebody's got to make up for that production. But I think if there's any team that can overcome the loss of a player like that, I think the Packers are that team.
Troy Aikman joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. The Cowboys running game, how concerned are you? Kristen Michael on the eve of the season acquired from the Seahawks, showing you that clearly the Cowboys are pondering about their depth at the position. What say you, Troy Aikman?
It would be a concern of mine. It's interesting, Rich, because they hit the threshold on what they were going to pay DeMarco Murray in that negotiation. But then there was talk that Adrian Peterson may be available, and if he was, they were reporting in Dallas that the Cowboys were going to offer more money to Adrian Peterson than they were offering to DeMarco Murray. And so whether or not that comes back to bite them, if in fact they could have made it work, we'll find out. The running game obviously had a lot to do with their success. It had a lot to do with Tony Romo remaining healthy. It had a lot to do with his year. It had a lot to do with the defense that was not expected to be very good, but they weren't on the field, as much as they had been in previous seasons. And I just don't believe that you just plug anybody back there and have great success or have equal success that they had last season. I played with the all-time leading rusher in Emmitt Smith, and we had an outstanding offensive line, but I also know what Emmitt Smith did at times to make that offensive line look really good. And I don't think, you could have just put anybody behind our line and they would have walked away, into the sunset as the all-time leading rusher.
I've got a couple minutes left with you. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Josh Rosen and his remarkable freshman out-of-the-gate performance for your alma mater, UCLA, this weekend. What did you think of him?
Outstanding. I ran into some people back in May, and they said, let me tell you, this guy is the real deal. And when he was announced as the starter, and I always believed he would be announced as the starter, I was anxious to watch him play. I started one game as a true freshman at Oklahoma, and it was not pretty. So I was wondering how he would do. And, not only did he play great, but, when they'd catch him, you can kind of tell looking at a guy whether or not he's a little nervous or, where he's at emotionally in a game. And he was just as calm as he could be. So I could not have been more impressed. I was out on campus Tuesday, there at UCLA and ran into some people. And I said, "Hey, how about that? That was a great performance for a true freshman." And I said, that was a great performance for a fifth-year senior. I mean, he was phenomenal. So he's got all of us very, very excited, and hopefully he can continue to play solid football. Not that he's going to go out and do what he did last week each and every week.
To watch your new commercial with Miller Lite, head to youtube.com/Miller Lite and follow @Miller Lite on Twitter throughout the football season. And you are, is this, because you've taken in a way Madden's role in the booth for Fox. Is this happening now with Miller Lite too, Troy?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, the Miller Lite All-Stars, those commercials, some of your listeners may not be old enough to remember them. Those were phenomenal.
Oh, great.
Rich, I when I was transferring from Oklahoma to UCLA, I got a call one evening from Barry Switzer, and he said, "Hey, have you found a summer job yet?" And I had not. He said, "Well, a good friend just bought the Miller distributorship in Tulsa, and why don't you go in tomorrow morning and interview and see if you can get a job?" I said, "Great." I went up there and interviewed. I got the job. And I've been a loyal consumer of Miller Lite ever since. I've had a long relationship with them.
Yeah, those commercials with Mickey Spillane and John Madden, Billy Martin, and Bubba Smith, those were great. And I've seen your version of the commercials. Very funny, too, Troy. So that's funny.
It was fun to shoot. All the commercials I think that they shot in that series turned out pretty good. And I was proud of the way they shot it, and it was fun.
Well, Troy, it was good to see you in Canton. Great to speak with you here, and don't be a stranger. I'd love to have you back on the show.
Thank you, Rich. You're the best.
You got to say hi to Joe. That's at Troy Aikman on Twitter.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.